breaking down the deals, data, and disruption shaping global markets. You're listening to The Daily Ledger with Dennis Sert.
Hey folks, it is Wednesday, April 29th, 2026. You're listening to The Daily Ledger Show, and I am your host, Dennis Sert. Great to be here with you tonight. We got some good stories we're going to get into. We're going to talk about Musk says he was, quote, a fool to provide OpenAI's early funding. The split between China and Silicon Valley just got wider. Cursor is about to be acquired by SpaceX, hasn't yet. Amazon posts double-digit growth anchored by booming web services. Again, ex-Twitter CEO's AI startup raises funds at $2 billion valuation. And I decided we're going to also include pop culture into the streams. So Disneyland scrubs Star Wars sequel trilogy from Galaxy's Edge, and fans are loving it. And finally, Gina Carano comments on current relationship with Pedro Pascal. Thoughts about Kathleen Kennedy. So we're going to get into all that. Before we get into it, make sure to go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. Follow if you're on Instagram Reels or if you're on TikTok. We're also on Rumble now, so make sure to share that. Catch it. We have a school community now. So if you want to be with like-minded individuals, make sure to go ahead and hit the link in the description, as well as on Facebook, in YouTube, and on Instagram. And go ahead and join the community, and you'll have access to me as well as other like-minded people in the space. So that's super exciting. Let's just dive right in. So Musk says he was a fool to provide OpenAI's early funding. So basically there's this trial that's ongoing right now with basically Elon Musk suing OpenAI, saying that, hey, like, I put in a bunch of money and then you guys just turned it into a for-profit sort of thing. He said, I gave them, quote, $38 million of essentially free funding to create what would become an $800 billion company. He says, I was a fool who provided them free funding to create a startup. 2015. Well, you got to be careful who you get into business with, and you have to be careful who you do a startup with. It's yeah, I mean, it's not a decision to take lightly. It's essentially like marrying someone, right? Because it's a lot like marriage, because you share all your money and you don't have sex. So in that way, being in a co-founding relationship is similar to being in a marriage. So that aside, though, this is ongoing, and we'll see. And a lot of big people are set to testify, including Greg Brockman, OpenAI's president, Altman himself, Elon, Satya Nadella of Microsoft, and it's all happening in Oakland, aka Cokeland. So we'll have to see more about that. The split between China and Silicon Valley just got wider. Beijing's insistence that Meta unwind its deal with a Chinese AI startup escalates the geopolitical fight over advanced tech. I thought it was a done deal. Like, I thought Meta had already acquired. So it's talking about Manus. So this was a story like several months ago where Meta said, okay, we're going to acquire you. By the way, Meta's just acquiring everybody. Acquired the OpenClaw network, Open Book, or whatever. So yeah, I guess they're on a roll. I think their numbers came out today, and they seem to have beaten their quarterly targets. So things seem to work. Maybe those layoffs are working out for Meta. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone's shitting on layoffs. Like, oh my god, like, hey man, maybe Mark knows what he's doing. Like, don't knock it till you try it. You know what I'm saying? Um, so yeah, that's kind of what's going on there. My take is that I'm just really surprised that um it's even possible that several months after the deal was inked out and signed, that China, the CCP is just like, oh, actually, we're gonna undo this. It's like, okay. Cursor. So basically, SpaceX has this X post. Um, Kind of weird. They own this whole thing now. So from 8 days ago, Cursor has also been given SpaceX the right to acquire Cursor later this year for a $60 billion or for $60 billion or pay $10 billion for our work together. A combination of Cursor's leading product and distribution to expert software engineers with SpaceX million H100 equivalent Colossus training supercomputer will allow us to build the world's most useful models. So this SpaceX XAI merge that which was several months ago, and then now they're they're about to go public now. They're about to IPO, and then now they're seemingly about to acquire Cursor as well. So this is going to be an absolute colossus, just absolutely gigantic. Of course, Elon's goal is to put 1 million people on Mars in order to get like his next pay package, which is just absolutely wild. So we'll see about that, but things are definitely picking up. Like if Claude can write itself, which was a story from again several months ago last year. If Claude can write itself, now imagine like SpaceX backed Cursor being able to like write better AI models. So that's kind of crazy to think about. Amazon posts double-digit growth anchored by booming web services. The retail and computing and cloud computing giant beats analyst estimates with 17% jump in revenue and sharp interest in net profit. Good. Good. Yeah, so it's funny because AWS has been consistently just doing super well for Amazon. And what's funny is apparently, I guess AWS is so valuable that it caused OpenAI and Microsoft to like amend their deal where apparently like, you know, Microsoft Azure was going to have exclusive rights over ChatGPT's API, and then, you know, they were going to own like 49% of OpenAI, which they were doing for quite a bit of time there, pretty much since 2023. And then they saw that like, oh my god, OpenAI is kind of running around with multiple partners here, right? AWS, and then you know, a whole bunch of other people. And so now they were kind of forced to amend their partnership, right? Because technically OpenAI was breaching contract by being with AWS. But yeah, Amazon seems to be doing well now. Revenue for the period rose 17% to 181.5 billion. Yeah. And Amazon just did an investment into Anthropic. Yeah, which was earlier this week. Yeah, so Amazon's big in this space. Ex-Twitter CEO's AI startup raises funds at $2 billion valuation. So I actually hate this because, you know, I'll just say this. I took Elon's side in 2022, which there's no surprise there, when he went ahead and terminated all these guys, all of the formerly Twitter's executives, right? So Parag Agrawal, you know, was a CTO to Jack Dorsey, and then he became CEO for a very short amount of time, and then Elon came in, kicked him out. So this guy, he's just a piece of shit, deserves really nothing, no praise. I mean, honestly, if you're the CTO, you're just a bitch. Um, you don't really do anything. You have zero clout. You have zero role in a startup. In a startup, you only want to be CEO or bust. So for that reason, I don't think he had a huge standing in Twitter at the time. And yet his, you know, his new company, Parallel Web Systems, just gets tons of money from like Sequoia Capital or whatever. And this isn't me seething. I'm just trying to explain that he's been given hella money. The startup's valuation is $2 billion. And then I took a look at the books. Apparently their revenue is only 1.3 million in ARR. Now, if you're not a startup person, this may seem like a lot, but this isn't actually that much, 1.3 million. So to be honest, many startups that are founded by people who are like less than 25 years old, a lot of their goals are to hit $1 million in ARR or annual recurring revenue. And it's a goal that a lot of companies hit, especially now in 2026. I personally know of several companies and founders who have hit $1 million ARR. And so it's really funny because I was going through and it says, basically what I'm saying here is they're not making a lot of money. Just real quick to land that plane. Here's a company, Y Combinator W24. So my batch called Lagora, formerly Leia, and they're making $25 million in ARR. Okay. So Parallel Web Systems has made 1.3 million. Okay. So 1 compared to 25. Now you'll say, okay, well, that's just one startup. Okay, well, let's look at Exa, which is another web search. So I guess Parallel Web Systems does web searching, but specifically for like enterprise customers. Exa, which is a competitor in the space, made $12 million compared to Parallel Web Systems, $1.3 million in 2025. So 12 versus 1. It's funny because Exa is 3 times smaller, so they're 1/3 the size. So basically what I'm trying to say is there's so much resting on this guy's clout, the guy who lost to Elon. Like, you should have never picked a fight with Elon. And look at this guy just acting so smug, like, oh, I'm the former CTO/CEO of formerly Twitter. And then he just gets tons of cash thrown at him, and he's only made $1.3 million for his company. It's like, shame on you. You need to give up. You need to dissolve your company, and you need to become a traditional software engineer. I think that's the best thing that Parag Agrawal can do at this point. Disneyland scrubs Star Wars sequel trilogy from Galaxy's Edge, and fans are loving it. The sequel trilogy was just such a shit show for Lucasfilm, for Disney. Honestly, the best thing that Disney could have done with the Star Wars IP is just simply buy it from George Lucas in 2012 and then just sit on it. Just make all of their theme park rides. Just make some like ancillary content based off of it, but don't like make new movies and stuff. So it's really, really bad. Apparently they're coming out with the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, and nobody cares about it. No one knows about it. It's just going to be a giant write-off for them. It's absolutely disgusting. So apparently Disney knows that they screwed up. They royally screwed the pooch with the sequel trilogy. And so now seems like they've completely ripped out the sequel trilogy from Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland. So how about that? Gina Carano comments on current relationship with Pedro Pascal. Thoughts on Kathleen Kennedy from Geeks and Gamers. So this is really interesting to me because Gina Carano is an actress who was playing in The Mandalorian, okay? And her shtick is that in 2021, she became politically involved. And she started saying like, oh, well, quote, I don't believe anybody can make your medical choices for you, right? So she's referring to like COVID vaccines. She's referring to masking. And then she said a few other things like that. And then she got fired by Disney. Well, now last year, she ended up, now that COVID has more or less completely blown over, right? Like it's just been memory hold completely. I haven't heard the word COVID since like forever, by the way. But what's funny is um Gina Carano actually settled after suing Disney in 2025, settled with Disney. And so she kind of ended up on top, which is great. Totally was rooting for her, unironically here. Um, so Gina Carano confirms she and Pedro Pascal no longer speak. Gina Carano didn't dance around the question when it came to her relationship with Pedro Pascal, who's just like, the internet daddy. Apparently, that is literally self-described Pedro Pascal. He's in every movie. He was in the new Fantastic Four. He was the star of The Mandalorian. He's in like Chris Evans movies, co-starring with Chris Evans, just random like chick flicks. He's in like several other things. I mean, the guy gets way too much screen time. But anyway, so he is very much on the left. And so he and Gina are obviously like kind of, not exactly the best buds. And it seems like they're not on speaking terms. So this is pretty funny to me. By the way, here's Pedro Pascal. Here's a clip of Pedro Pascal if you haven't seen him. So let me go ahead and get this up here. And this is your big star. This is a guy in like all of your movies. He's the internet daddy. Yeah, there you go. So do you think that Gina's missing out by not being on speaking terms with Mr. Pascal? Well, I think not. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. But in any case, Pascal never publicly denounced Carano during the controversy that led to her firing, but behind the scenes, Carano has previously revealed that he encouraged her to tone things down and tell critics what they wanted to hear. Let's call that what it is. That's not advice rooted in conviction. It's telling someone to play along, to smooth things over, to say whatever needs to be said to avoid backlash. To some, that's professionalism. To others, that's bowing to pressure. Carano chose not to do that. She stuck to her principles and fought for what she believed in, just as she's done throughout her career. Yeah. And then Pedro Pascal made a lot of politically charged sort of social media posts, like in 2020, kind of against the right, and then didn't face any consequences, of course. Gina Carano reflects on Disney's changed tone after settlement. Instead of dwelling on the past, she pointed to something most people overlooked, a single sentence in Disney's official statement following the settlement of our lawsuit. The statement noted that she was always well respected by her directors, co-stars, and staff, and the company looked forward to identifying opportunities to work together. Yeah, nobody really picked it up, but it's such a remarkable contrast from that very first horrendous statement they had put out years earlier, where basically they kind of very violently kicked her out. I don't recall Disney really doing a lot at that time. This speaks leagues. Honestly, screw Disney. Gina has nothing to do with Disney. Looks like Gina went back to, I guess, boxing. She's big into or MMA fighting, so that's what she's doing now. But yeah, so anyways, we'll have to see what comes of that. That's all we got for today. Make sure to go ahead and join the school community, where again you'll find like-minded individuals following tech, AI news as well as pop culture. Make sure to share, like, and subscribe to the show. And same thing with all the clips and the shorts and TikToks and reels. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.